In San Diego, a deluxe bill of fare was provided for the football gourmet as two undefeated teams clashed head-on. The locals have popped their corks over the toast of the town Chargers, who were intent on making the Bills fizzle. Dan Fouts' touchdown pass to Kellen Winslow, number 80, helped build a 24-12 lead. But soon the Chargers went flat as indigestion-producing errors took their toll. Rod Cush, number 42, set up one Buffalo touchdown when he devoured punter Rick Partridge. And Fouts, whose 8 interceptions going into this contest had done his team little damage, finally saw his errant ways catch up to him. A steal by Jim Haslett, number 55, set the table for Joe Cribbs, number 20, a rookie with a huge appetite for scoring touchdowns. Cribbs' 7th score of the season was the piece de resistance in a 26-24 win that entitled the Bills to a sip of the bubbly and sent the Chargers in search of the bicarbonate. After leaving 4 opponents dust-bitten, the Detroit Lions gave Atlanta a tumble. But a hungry Falcons defense stopped number 20 Billy Sims cold, and Detroit's fortunes went from easy over to hard-boiled. When Gary Danielson took to the air, the Lions' offense went out of the vat and into the fryer. Danielson, who had thrown but 1 interception in 1980, was picked off 3 times by the Falcons. A theft by Tom Pridemore, number 27, indicated that Atlanta had no intention of letting Detroit slip from their clutches. Unfortunately for the Lions, football slipped from their clutches. This one was scooped up by linebacker Buddy Curry, number 50. Atlanta's defense and special teams accounted for 23 points and sent the Falcons to a 36-6 lead after 3 quarters. But Danielson showed that his composure was still intact when he ignited a furious 4th-period rally. Danielson and number 39 Leonard Thompson combined for a 79-yard score. And Freddie Scott, number 87, was on the receiving end of yet another Danielson bomb. Danielson threw for 3 scores in the final stanza and finished the game with 348 passing yards. While Atlanta's defense ensured that Steve Bartkowski didn't have to match these statistics, he still supplied the Falcons with plenty of aerial punch. With 4 receptions, rookie tight end Junior Miller, number 80, was a favorite target. Bartkowski's touchdown pass to Alfred Jenkins, number 84, helped turn the tables on Detroit in the Falcons' 43-28 win. Their 2nd in a row over an undefeated opponent. Suddenly, a delectable brand of football is being served in Atlanta. While football's equivalent of fine cuisine was being offered around the NFL, the Saints continued to operate a greasy spoon. Their offense may be declared a health hazard, and their defense is not exactly a blue plate special. Cardinal backs like Wayne Morris, number 24, ran roughshod in the Superdome, and O.J. Anderson, number 32, was aided by blocking from the likes of Doug Marsh, number 87, and by Morris, while producing his 2nd consecutive 100-yard rushing game. Anderson returned the favor as part of the Cardinals' full house backfield, a formation rarely employed in the NFL these days. Most teams use 2 tight ends for extra blocking, But St. Louis calls on Anderson and Theodis Brown, number 33, to spearhead the assault on congested goal line defenses. A full house beats jokers anytime, and Morris benefited by scoring 3 touchdowns. With St. Louis's ground attack piling up over 300 yards and putting the game out of reach, Theodis Brown took the opportunity to fulfill his long-held ambition of sitting in with the New Orleans band. The Cardinals' only sour note was sounded when the Saints' Alex Price, number 75, snatched a punt off of Larry Swider's toe, then rambled 19 yards for the winless Saints' lone score in the 40-7 defeat. Even with Jim Hart, the 2-3 Cardinals may not quite be ready to challenge teams like the Bills at the head of the table, but they could have a say in how the final place cards read. This week, the New England Patriots are home in Foxborough to play their Eastern Division rivals, the Miami Dolphins. If Buffalo loses to Baltimore, a win would put the Patriots in a first-place tie, and history is on their side. They've won 4 of the last 5 games against Miami at Schaefer Stadium. But Miami fans are quick to point out that the Dolphins hold a substantial lead in the all-time rivalry, and neither team has swept the season series since 1975. Still, Miami coach Don Shula will have several concerns while preparing for the 4-1 Patriots. One concern is a recharged defensive line. Last week against New York, the Patriots logged 5 quarterback sacks. Defensive end Julius Adams, number 85, still going strong in his 9th pro season, notched one of the sacks by reading New York's blocking keys correctly, thus producing an unobstructed path to the Jets' Richard Todd. Also in pursuit was Rod Schote, number 56, a linebacker with a kind of outside speed the Dolphins may have trouble with. The Patriot defense welcomed back another ace last week, number 40, Mike Haynes, making his first start since ending a long contract holdout. Set a club record by returning this blocked field goal for 65 yards and a touchdown. The defense and special teams played major roles against the Jets, as did the offense. The Patriots entered the game with a number 2 attack in the AFC, and both New England quarterbacks did little to tarnish that ranking. Backup Matt Cavanaugh and starter Steve Grogan both moved the team effectively. Before leaving the game with a knee injury, Grogan gave the Patriots a comfortable lead with help from receivers like running back Chuck Foreman, number 22. Cavanaugh then stepped in and promptly threw a score to number 29, Harold Jackson. With this demonstration, the Patriots showed they have 2 quarterbacks who can take full advantage of New England's marvelous stable of receivers, like Jackson, Russ Francis, and Stanley Morgan. Quarterback depth is not the sole province of New England, however. In 3 of the first 4 games, the hot line has rung up Dolphin veteran Bob Griese. On each occasion, Griese strode out of the bullpen and saved the day. In last week's game against Baltimore, Griese started, and the early results were much the same. The Miami backfield no longer boasts Kick and Zonka. Now it's names like number 35, Nick Giaquino, a former phys ed teacher at a girls' high school. So far, the backs have had more progress as receivers than runners. At the moment, Miami travels best through the air, whether the target is a Nick Giaquino or wide receiver Duriel Harris, number 82. The Dolphins' early success against Baltimore was short-lived. Miami was shut out in the second half. Part of the Dolphins' offensive problem stemmed from a patchwork offensive line. Once the pride of the NFL, the unit is now hard-pressed to protect their quarterback. Miami's woes extend to its running game as well. The Dolphins gained 78 yards rushing against Baltimore and may find things even tougher against the Patriots' big line and active linebackers. Even more tattered is Miami's secondary, which starts a rookie, a second and third-year player, and a reclaimed vet off the waiver wire. Miami's front seven on defense is good, but even they could not compensate for the lack of experience among the Dolphins' defensive backs. Baltimore quarterback Burt Jones had a field day passing against Miami, throwing for 3 touchdown passes. New England is hopeful their Steve Grogan can do the same. On the surface, it looks like New England has most of the advantages against Miami, but this is a rivalry that rarely follows form. Besides being an important divisional matchup, there are also memories of games past. In 1978, the Patriots knocked off Miami to win the Eastern Crown. Last year, the Dolphins returned the favor. It's that kind of history that makes this matchup so interesting and unpredictable. In the Astrodome, the Seattle Seahawks' surprising defense welcomed Earl Campbell back to the lineup by limiting the star running back to a paltry 50 yards. Like their offensive teammates, the Seattle defense has turned to trickery, such as number 42 Keith Simpson's safety blitz subterfuge. Houston's Ken Stabler put the ball in the air 50 times, but completed only 23, despite having time for his customary statue impersonation. The Snake frequently threw into blanket coverage by the Seahawks secondary, which intercepted 5 of his passes. The Seattle defense can be forgiven for making the most of its unaccustomed spot in the limelight, for after holding Houston to 1 touchdown and shutting out Washington 2 weeks ago, it appears the team finally has a defensive unit that can match the firepower of Jim Zorn and the explosive Seahawk air attack. Zorn's 2 touchdown passes to Sam McCullum and Seattle's suddenly stubborn defense knocked the stunned Oilers out of a share of the AFC Central Division lead, 26-7. Meanwhile, Houston's division neighbor Cleveland lost a game that turned on one weird play when quarterback Brian Sipe unadvisedly threw with a hand in his face. Randy Gradishar, number 53, gathered in the rebound and plotted 93 yards as the Browns bench watched in silent disbelief. The All-Pro linebackers' coast-to-coast stroll resulted in the only touchdown of the day for Denver. And Cleveland matched it in one quick strike when Sipe flung the football 40 yards downfield into the waiting arms of reliable Reggie Rucker, number 33. Despite Rucker's triumphant end zone posturing, Cleveland suffered a damaging defeat because the Broncos outkicked the Browns 4 field goals to 3 and won 19-16. 2 former Packer greats were reunited in Green Bay, but Bart Starr's beleaguered Pack outplayed Forrest Gregg's inconsistent Bengals to win for the first time since opening day, 14-9. Packer quarterback Lynn Dickey passed for over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, as Green Bay backed up a vote of confidence their coach received from the team's board of directors earlier in the day. In the AFC Central, only Pittsburgh escaped the weekend unscathed as once again Steeler depth saved the day. Against Minnesota, number 85, young Calvin Sweeney scored his first professional touchdown, while the Steel Curtain stole 5 Tommy Kramer passes. Pittsburgh took a 20-point lead into the fourth quarter, but the Vikings came back with 2 touchdowns to throw a scare into the Super Bowl champs. Despite the close call in the Northlands, it's understandable if Pittsburgh appeared a bit jaunty leaving the field, for all 3 of its Central Division rivals appear intent on self-destructing. Only 5 weeks into the 1980 season, the Steelers already own outright what was thought to be football's strongest and most competitive division. Quarterback Dan Pastorini, Oakland's long ball hope, said a long goodbye to 1980 with a broken leg, and a quick goodbye to the Chiefs' Gary Spanny, who ignited a 31-0 Kansas City lead. The Chiefs' effort was inspired by rookie Carlos Carson, number 88, and an unlikely block by quarterback Steve Fuller. The Raiders forged a mild comeback, limiting the Chiefs to a single first down in the second half. But defensive end Whitney Paul didn't need first downs to score. Just a little sleight of hand and a full head of steam. Beaten by the Raiders on opening day, the Chiefs returned the favor for their first win of the year. The return of number 72, Ed Too Tall Jones, to the Dallas Cowboys has dampened the spirits of other giants hoping to move up in the NFC East. While Jones solidified the Dallas front four, quarterback Danny White quietly became the leading passer in the NFC. Number 80, Tony Hill, received the first of 2 White touchdown passes. Number 11 further exploited the vulnerable New York secondary with a second score to Butch Johnson. Giant rookie quarterback Scott Brunner took over in the third period and went from the frying pan to the fire. Defensive tackle John Dutton's first touchdown ever finalized a 24-3 Dallas win, good for first place in their division. The other first-place team in the NFC East, the Philadelphia Eagles, lost some of their early season spark, and the Washington Redskins took advantage. A 54-yard scoring pass from Joe Theismann to Ricky Thompson put Washington ahead early. The Redskin defense confirmed there was plenty of wild left in this wild bunch. Number 29, Mark Murphy, and his Washington teammates accumulated more total offense than did the Eagles. Yet big plays from Ron Jaworski to fullback Leroy Harris made the difference. From a 51-yard touchdown pass receiver to a blocking back, number 20 led the way for Wilbert Montgomery and a second Eagle touchdown. The third and final Eagle touchdown, Jaworski to Harold Carmichael, earned Philadelphia a 24-14 win and a tie with Dallas for the division lead. The recent turmoil surrounding the Los Angeles Rams has appeared to settle. The Ram defense has tightened up and was well prepared to challenge the offensive strategy of Bill Walsh and his 49ers, and well prepared to lay siege to Steve DeBerg and his predictable short passing game. Linebacker Jim Youngblood's touchdown was but a small part of a Ram attack that buried the 49ers under 34 first-half points. San Francisco quarterback Joe Montana, number 16, shared duties with Steve DeBerg and was allowed 250 yards in the air. But the treatment his receivers felt on the ground was anything but accommodating. Ram quarterback Vince Ferragamo topped Montana, throwing for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. Cullen Bryant's 35-yard score and closing act did not stop the show. Wide receiver Willie Miller accounted for 6 more of the Rams' total. For Bill Walsh, a dose of reality. After winning their first 3 games, the Niners dropped their second straight. Week 5 of the NFL season saw several upstart teams come back to earth. Several teams in limbo regained their strength, and the 49ers looking to regain a bit of their early magic.